Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Benny Adams, and welcome to Let's Binge About It, a place where we talk about all things movie and TV. And I am so excited because I got Lola Mae Loughran here, and she plays the one and only Maddie on the hit Netflix show In From the Cold. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thanks.
You are on such a freaking amazing show. I just checked this morning. You're still in the top 10 globally on Netflix's top 10 list. How is that? Like, did you know you were signing up for such an amazing show?
I mean, you always hope that like a show is successful, like a project that you do is successful. And I think when we were filming, we were like, yeah, like this is a really great show. I think it's going to do really well. And Adam, our showrunner, had been like, yeah, Netflix are really enthusiastic about it. Like they think that it's going to go really well. They have like an algorithm and they think it's going to track well. And then when it came out and it was like, oh, it's number 4 in the US, number 5 in the UK, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. And then like as the week has gone on and people are like, yeah, it's number 2 now worldwide. And I was kind of like, what?
Whoa.
Sorry. I was like, this is weird and mad. And like people, and then you get like more followers and people send you messages. And it's kind of like, okay, I didn't think like it's always a possibility, but I think the reality of it now being like number 2, number 3 in the world is kind of crazy.
That's insane. I didn't realize I knew this was a big show, but I didn't know it was to that impact where you were saying you're getting all these messages from people. So how has that changed for you from all your other projects to this one?
I think this is the first time where like I get like the occasional message from people who have seen like skins and stuff, and I'm always like, okay, yeah, cool. I did that when I was 14.
Mhm.
This is fine. But this one is the most where it's kind of been like every day I'll get like a couple of messages from people, and I'm just kind of like, hi, like you just see it and you're like, oh, okay, it's nothing negative, so that's fine, I guess. I think the most comparable was being in skins, and then I went to a music festival when I was 16, and I would just have random people come up to me and be like, hi, and I was kind of like, hello, I don't know who you are. They were like, I loved you in skins, and I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And my friends would be like, do you know that person? I was like, no. To the point where my best friend, like her kind of like her stepbrother, was like, oh, hi, Lola, and I turned around being like, oh god. And then obviously I knew him and I was like, oh, hi. And my friend who was with me was like, do you know this guy? Like, do you know him? Is it okay? I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. He's not a random person. Like, this is someone I know.
I love it. I love it. And just from like talking to you from these short couple of minutes, you seem so humble and you seem so grounded. And I feel like that's why people are drawn to you.
Thank you. I try. I mean, my whole family we've always been quite a grounded family and quite, I don't want to say like realistic, but I think that's the kind of thing where I was like, you always hope for the possibility of a show doing well and people loving it because it's something you've created or like you've been part of the process. So you want people to like it. But I've never really like gone into something it's like, yeah, this is going to change my life. I'm going to be super famous and get all this money and free stuff. I'm like, free stuff would be nice. Thank you. I would very much like free stuff. But it's still my life and it can kind of disappear at any moment. Like you could be on something that gets cancelled or you could be on something that people don't like. And I've kind of just always known the reality of this industry, I guess, because I started acting when I was six or seven. So I've kind of always, it's normal to me now at this point, where other people are like, oh, this is really new and exciting. I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time. This is nice. This is just nice. I'm happy
You're
to have a stable job.
exactly. You're a pro at this now. You're a pro. And speaking of acting, so you play this character, Maddie, on In From the Code. I love your character. For the people who have not seen this show yet, can you describe who your character is, what she's all about?
So Maddie is Jenny's daughter's Becca's best friend. And they're all in Madrid for a figure skating competition, which is kind of Maddie's sole drive. So her whole goal is to do well in this competition. And that kind of sums her up. And she doesn't necessarily get involved with everything that's going on, but I definitely think she's aware that something is happening. And you
Mhm.
see that in the later episodes. She's kind of aware something's happening, but it's still like, yeah, but I need to win gold. That's what I came here to do. So yeah, she's a very driven character. And I think she's conflicted in some parts. She's a bit weird. I kind of wanted her to be a bit of an oddball, like Becca, because they've been best friends since they were children. So I kind of thought like it would be nice to have a girl who on the surface is seemingly like really popular with all these people, but she's kind of like, no, this was against my will. I do not want to be friends with you. I'm happy with my one weird best friend. That's our friendship.
Yeah, and I really love how you brought that up because I felt like, on one side we have Maddie and she's, on this popular team. She's in with the clique. And then on the other side, she's best friends with Becca and the two are inseparable. But one thing that I really loved about your character is I feel like your character has a great sense of self. And you kind of said it before, she kind of has a weird feeling that something is just not right. I want to talk about what drew you to the role. Like, how did you get this role in the first place?
So I originally auditioned for Becca,
Oh, wow.
was how I came about. I originally auditioned for Becca. And then about 2 weeks after my audition, I got a call from my agent and she was like, hi, so basically, they might want you to play the best friend. And I was like, okay, that's good to know. Let me know if I need to audition again, like how that's gonna happen. Let me know what I need to do. And then about 2 weeks after that, she was like, hi, yeah, they want you to play the best friend. Like, will you play Maddie? And I was kind of like, oh, okay. So I hadn't seen a character breakdown for Maddie. I'd never gone through like the audition process where you like see the casting breakdown and stuff like that, and you can kind of get a feel of what they want for the character by the scenes that they pick for you to do. So I had no kind of preconceived idea of who she was, which I thought was quite fun. I had the first two episodes from auditioning for Becca, so I knew the initial twist, which I thought was like, oh, this is really cool. Okay, this is something different. So yeah, I had no idea, and I was kind of like, oh, this is fun. I can come up with a character essentially because just from what I've seen in the first two episodes, like this is where I want to go with it. If she's playing the best friend, I didn't want her to just be like the stereotypical sassy best friend character, even though she had like some great like zingers, some great one-liners. But yeah, so that's kind of what drew me to it, and it was nice to be offered a role, like instead of having to fight for one. Yeah, so it was fun. It was nice. And the writing seemed really cool. And then I obviously looked up Adam and had seen that he'd done comic books and Supernatural, and I had watched Supernatural when I was a teenager. So I was like, oh wow, okay, this is cool. So yeah, that was kind of how I came to do it.
I'm mind blown right now because I did not know that you at first auditioned for Becca. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's so cool. And I love how you mentioned Adam because he's the creator of the show, and I read some articles about him, and he was talking about how he came up with this character Jenny.
Yeah.
um it's crazy, this whole story, how this works out. And I remember reading, it says something about where the story is kind of based off of his wife,
Yeah.
and I thought that was so cool. Like, what was it like working with Margarita, who plays Jenny, and seeing, were you able to see like all the stunts that she does? And
We did see
it's mind
some.
blowing to me.
We did see some. We saw we went down to see them film one scene. There's like a chase sequence where she runs like the Terminator, and we were all just like, oh my God, in heels. She was like, I can do it in heels. And they were like, please don't. Like, we'll give you like flat shoes. Please run in those. And we went to see that. And then I saw, I think, one of the other fight scenes. And then we'd heard, and like other people were like, oh, like I have it filmed. Like, do you want to see it? And Adam would come and be like, hi, I have the rushes. Do you want to see her amazing fight scene? And we'd be like, oh my God, yes. And we'd see like her rehearsal stunt videos. And were doing, me, Lydia, and Anna, who plays Claire, we were doing ice skating training for the first, well, me and Lydia did it for the whole of the shoot, but at that point we were doing it for the first 2 months. It was like every day or like 3 times a week. And we were like, oh my God, like my body hurts, this amount of exercise. And then we'd see like what Margarita was doing. We were like, okay, what we're doing is really not that bad. She has an 8-pack and is taking on grown men. So we can deal with the ice skating. But yet she was phenomenal. Like the performance she gives is just mind-blowing. And the change in like how she just does the change from like Jenny at the top of episode 1 to Jenny at the end of the series is just was amazing to watch and amazing to work with. Because I had a scene with her at the beginning, like right at the top when they're getting off the coach, and then I had the scene with her in episode 6, and it was just kind of like, this is a whole different person, but it's the evolution of a character. Wow, amazing. And we'd
Yeah.
see it in like read-throughs and stuff, and we'd just be like, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned ice skating, and I completely forgot to ask you this because you are in the show, you're competing in a championship.
Yeah.
Are you an ice skater, or did you have to like train for that?
So when we auditioned, they were like, you don't have to be an ice skater. I think they asked, because they said Rebecca, they were like, you don't need to be an ice skater. And I think for Maddie, they were kind of the same. I think for Claire, they said ice skating was preferable. I think she said that. But they said to us, like, you don't have to be ice skaters. You'll have stunt doubles. You'll do training. It'll be fine. And I was like, yeah, I've ice skated recreationally. When I was 16, I went ice skating. It was okay. And then I went the week before, like the weekend before we flew out the first time in 2020, and I didn't fall over. So I was like, oh, this is fine. We're going to be fine. Did a year with no exercise, and then came back in the January and was Bambi on ice, essentially. It was quite something. And the first 2 lessons were a bit rough. It was very like Bambi on ice. Could kind of hold myself up, but needed to get used to the mechanisms of like how to ice skate, because you kind of think, yeah, it's just like walking on ice. No, incorrect. Very much not that. And like how to do it. It was not only ice skating, learning to ice skate, it was also learning to skate like a figure skater. So how they would even casually move on the ice, which I think was the weirdest thing. They're like shoulders. Like our teacher had a big thing about like how our shoulders were, because they kind of had to be like, yeah, your body's facing that way, you're going that way, you're going that way. You can't just twist like you're walking. We were like, oh, okay. I remember filming the scene in episode 1 when they go to the ice rink at night, and literally our coach was just like, shoulders. Like we'd finish shooting, they'd be like, cut, and he'd be like, yeah, your shoulders. And I reached a point where I was like, don't tell me shoulders, please don't say it. I don't want to do it again, please.
Hey, well, now you can add ice skating on your resume.
Now I want to ice skate all the time. I'm like, let's go ice skating. People like, you just want to show off. I was like, 100%, yes, I do.
Let's do it. Well, and another thing that I really like about this show is the female empowerment, and one thing we really don't see as much as we should in the media and entertainment industry is, older women playing this awesome hero secret spy role. And that's what I love about the show. We have Jenny, who is a mother, and she's doing all of these things that you would see, a 007 doing.
Well, that's what I think is really interesting. 007 is allowed to be older. Like he's allowed to be in his 30s, 40s. And so I like that Adam was kind of like, yeah, a woman can do that. Like if they can do it, they can do it. And Margarita can do it. It was kind of one of those ones where they're like, yeah, what happens? Spies don't just stop being able to do things when they're older. It's not just like, they're past 25, can't do it anymore. Like, no, they're still kick-ass. They're great. And I really love that. I love that the lead was someone who lived a life. They weren't just like, yeah, I'm a child prodigy. Like in that part of my life is that she had lived a whole life. She got married, she'd had a whole child, and it was that kind of thing of her daughter was grown up, and so it was kind of thing of, what do you do when your kids grow up and they don't necessarily need you anymore, and then you have a whole secret spy past. to add on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. No big deal. So I want to go and talk about the season finale without giving too many spoilers away for the people who have not seen it, but I saw the finale. Mine was blown once again.
Yeah.
I was reading an interview with Adam, and even though Netflix has not officially renewed it, which I will be shocked if this show does not get renewed for a season 2. But I remember reading that Adam said he already knows what he wants for season 2 and season 3. So my question for you is, what would you like to see happen for your character next season?
Well, I said, so Adam told us, so we had like one-on-one meetings with Adam before we started filming. And he was like, yeah, so this is what's going to happen in season 2 and 3. And so like we all discussed with each other because he kind of told us what our characters, like what they'd be doing / kind of the storylines they'd be related to. And so then we were all discussing with each other like, oh my god, like what's happening for you? But during the shoot I said that my 3 conditions were, well, my 2 main conditions were, I wanted a scene in a club because we didn't get any club scenes, and I wanted to either fire a gun or throw knives. I was like, those are my 2 conditions, do with that what you will. Because I was like, I can throw knives in real life. Let me throw knives. Use my skills, please.
That would be, so hey, maybe we'll see Maddie join in the whole secret agent fund, you know?
This is what
anything
I'm saying.
Can happen.
my mom has a whole thing now where she's like, I just think that Jenny should change into Maddie, maybe. I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, Mom. Thank you very much for this. She was like, I've just got these plot points. Maybe Adam could use them. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just saying. I was like, okay, thank you. You know what I want to do. So you're willing to push it.
Hey, I didn't even think about that. That's actually a really good idea. That's a really good idea.
I just let Maddie throw knives. Her mum would have taught her how to do it, I imagine. LaDonna seems like the type of person who'd know what to do. So
right. Well, fingers crossed that we'll get to see some crime fighting action with Maddie. Exactly. I want to move on and I want to talk about, so you're on Netflix, one of the biggest streaming giants ever. What are some shows that you're watching that you would want to suggest to your fans, or even some movies that you really like?
That's really interesting. I like a lot of Netflix originals, but I like the foreign ones. So I watch a lot of K-dramas. I watch a lot of Korean shows on Netflix. I was really happy that they started putting them on there. That made my day, because I had like another one and I was like, oh, this is really like, I have to try and find it. And now I don't have to pay for that because my mom pays for Netflix and it's all on Netflix. So I watch a lot of Korean shows. And I watched Elite, the Spanish one set in the school.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. What is that one about?
So it's kind of like a murder mystery. Like the first series, the first series is like a murder mystery.
Elite. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Elite.
Favorite show ever.
Yeah.
Love that show.
So I watched that with my sister. My sister's fluent in Spanish, so we watched that. I watch a lot of the like foreign stuff because I'm like, it wouldn't come up ordinarily like on my TV. So I'm like, oh my God, yes. And then I just watch a lot of Netflix originals. So I binge watched Outer Banks a lot. That got me through the first year of the pandemic, and then it got me through the summer this year. I watched them all in one day. This is what I like about Netflix. I can just sit down and I put 8 hours aside. Stranger Things as well is another big one for me that I will always binge watch whenever it comes out. I'm like, okay, Stranger Things today. That's it. So those are some of my top shows. I think I probably have more. I'm trying to like mentally go through my watch list. And I don't know why I can't think of this.
Stranger Things is really good though.
Stranger Things is like
waiting for
it's one that I rewatched a lot. Oh my God, they put Dawson's Creek on Netflix.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big one for me. I started binge watching that, and my mum watched it when it originally aired, and it was a big thing. Like I knew that it was a big thing in our family. I was like a baby when it happened, but we had this big computer with like dial up, and my dad, as like a romantic gesture, and also he was just doing it as a joke, downloaded a pacey screensaver for my mum, and like waited the whole time, everything downloaded it, set it up, and it was just like a legend in our family. Everyone always brought up this pacey screensaver that my dad had downloaded for Dawson's Creek. And then I started watching it, and I would like call my mum, because obviously I was in Madrid filming and she was in the UK and I couldn't leave and no one could visit me. So I'd like FaceTime her and be like, oh my God, mum. And we'd bond over watching Dawson's Creek. Like she'd be like, oh my God, yeah, I remember how I felt when that aired. I was like, no, please, I need this to happen. And she was like, yeah, just watch the show. It's finished. You can just watch the show. And that was a big one for me. I like that they are putting these random shows on there now, and things are getting a revival from going on Netflix. We have all of Studio Ghibli as well on the UK Netflix. I don't think it is on there in America, but on the UK Netflix, it changed my life. I was very happy.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah,
really cool.
So it's like House Moving Castle, Spirited Away, or stuff like that was on UK Netflix, and I was very happy.
Nice. You know what show you should watch if you haven't watched it yet? It's on Netflix. It's called Rebel. I don't want to. It's
on the list. It's on the list.
Yes. It's so good.
I added it.
If you like Elite, you will love it.
No, I had it on I regularly go through the like, oh, what's new? What's coming up? Obviously, I added in from the cold when it showed up. But it was on there and I was like, oh my God, remind me when it's out. And I just haven't had the time. I don't know why. It's been a bit crazy with the show coming out, but I haven't had the time to like sit down and watch it. But every time I look, it's like there, number one on my watch list. I'm like, I need to just sit down and watch the show, because I had so it's a remake of it, like one that was on like a decade ago. And when I was in Spain, it was on Spanish Netflix, and I'd added that one to my Netflix list, but it was like 150 episodes and I didn't have the time to watch it. But I don't know if it's still on there, but it was definitely on my list. I was like, let's just watch this. I love telenovelas that come up on Netflix. I add them to the queue and watch them. I like anything, really. I'm kind of eclectic.
It's so good. I say it's like a mix between High School Musical and Elite. That's how I kind of looked at it. It's
some of my favorite things. Some of my favorite things right there.
Well, Lola, thank you so much for coming on. I had such an amazing time talking to you. Last question. For the people who have not seen In From the Cold, why should they tune in to watch this show?
I think if Black Widow was one of your favorite Avengers, you'll love the show. You'll like the show a lot. If you like a bit of mystery, a bit of intrigue, a good thriller, you'll love it. You like anything to do with the Cold War, you'll love it. I think if you're not sure about spies, but you like sci-fi, again, you'll love the show. If you like things with a kick-ass powerhouse of a female lead, you should definitely watch it From the Cold.
I love it. That's a great. Hey, if I hadn't seen it, I would watch it because of that. Well, Lola, thank you again so much. Really appreciate it. I see big things coming for you in the future. Thank you. All right. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to the first episode of Let's Binge About It. By the way, this is the first episode, so thank you. So cool.
Well, I'm honored to be the first guest.
All right. I'll see you guys next time.